Hello, and welcome to our latest LinkedIn Live session from Cargo Publishers. I'm your host, Will Mountford. It's been a busy year since 2020 for those working in medicine overall, and telemedicine has been at the forefront of some of those changes. Looking to the future of the field, as technological capabilities race forwards, greater change is coming, and fast. So, what keeps patients at the forefront of that change without being left behind by their own care? Our speaker, Dr. Dorothea Kaufmann, is a healthcare innovator who has led the ARMED telemedicine project at Heidelberg University Hospital and is using AI to advance forensic medicine. Dr. Kaufmann, hello.
Hi, Will. So great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. Just for my own information and for everybody listening and watching, wherever they may be, could you tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what's brought you to telemedicine as a field?
Absolutely. So initially, I did a PhD in molecular biotechnology with a focus on drug design, which is quite far away from what I'm doing today. So after I graduated from Heidelberg University with my PhD, I decided to put more effort into inspiring young people and teaching. So I turned down a tenure track position. People told me I was mad, but I wasn't. And so I enjoyed teaching and making it better for my students at Heidelberg University. Big shout out to the ones watching right now. They told me there's a watch party in my old institute with current students and former students and students to be maybe. So hello, everyone. I love you. And so after I left Heidelberg University, I stumbled into the world of digitalization and telemedicine as I joined the Heidelberg University Hospital Department for Forensic Medicine, which sounds scary. And yes, it was scary, but I'm not a doctor, not a medical doctor. So I could stay in my office and do some digitalization stuff. And together with my colleagues, we designed RMED, which is a telemedicine solution for victims of violence who have no access to forensic expertise. And we partnered up with other hospitals who have no focus on forensic medicine. So when something bad happens to you, you can go to these hospitals and get examination, which is led by the forensic expert in Heidelberg. And after a while, I found out that forensic medicine is not the only part of medicine I'm interested in. So I left the Heidelberg University Hospital, and since then I'm a founder. So I had an idea and I'm working on that idea, and I'm sure we will have some time to speak about that idea later on. And the company will be named Telemed. And guess what? It's about telemedicine. So that's what I do. I still teach at Heidelberg School of Education, and my free time I devoted to local politics. So I'm an elected member of the city council, and I think that's quite a lot to do. But today it's all about telemedicine and AI.
Well, that certainly sounds like a full plate. And have people stopped looking at you like you've taken on too much of the world? Are they still making your choices sound crazy, or do you think
Yes,
people
they
are
do
starting
all
to
the
understand
time.
what you're doing?
Yeah, but that's part of the fun. One very successful founder who doesn't want to be named here told me, if people tell you your ideas are awesome and perfect and wonderful, ditch that idea. If people tell you you're crazy, go ahead. And so I'm going ahead ever since.
Well, can you maybe tell us about some of the times leading from that first challenge, that first, let's say, setting out the course for, this sounds crazy, I'd like to see you do it, and now you are doing it. Have there been any other hurdles to overcome along the way?
Yeah, so the biggest hurdle, so I'm based in Germany, and as you might know, Germany is world famous for not having stable internet. So there are a lot of places they do not have any internet at all, and we have a lot of hospitals where no Wi-Fi is available. And yes, I'm ashamed that I have to admit that in this context, Germany is like a sixth world country. And this was one of the biggest challenges when we designed RMED, and also right now for TeleMed, that we have no internet available freely everywhere. So that's a huge problem. Another challenge, especially when it comes to a very, how should I say, traditional university hospital like Heidelberg, future since 1386, and yes, they mean it, was to integrate the new technology in existing systems. systems, both on the technological side, but also on the personal side. So sometimes it was a little bit tricky to let people know, okay, this is a new piece of technology that you have to deal with, and it will be better afterwards, but now it will be a little bit painful. Just when you go to the dentist, it will be painful for 20 seconds, but afterwards you have a pain-free life. And this was what I tried to do with ARMED and get my colleagues on board. Another big issue in Germany, I'm very proud to say, is that we are also the world champions in data security. So medical data is extremely well protected in Germany. And it doesn't matter if it's like a tiny piece of data or a full piece of data from someone who was victim of a rape. So it was also not so easy to get our system up and running with the transmission of data and still have everything protected under the highest data protection laws which are carried out in Germany. And also gaining acceptance from patients and doctors. It was a long way, but a lot of cookies helped a great deal. And so in the end, everything worked out fine. And another thing that we really put a lot of effort in is to speak with people. Sometimes doctors are not as talkative as they might be. And so I'm very happy. I'm not a medical doctor, so I talk a lot, as you might have already figured out. And so we had a lot of feedback loops with the patients, with focus groups, with doctors. And in the end, we came up with a patient-centered design for ARMED that is working, well, nicely. And I'm still happy to have a look at it, although I'm not a part of this project anymore as I'm moving on with my own stuff, which will also be patient-centered in design, as I learned how to do it here in Heidelberg University Hospital.
Well, we'll come back to some more of those hurdles and overcoming them when it comes to digitization and patient care in a second. But to look back on maybe some of the recent past, when it comes to telemedicine, as I said in my introduction, it's been a wild couple of years for those who have made it to today. So could you tell us maybe a little bit about some of the success stories or challenges in the field in terms of improving patient care without being in the patient's room?
So with telemedicine, I think it's a major step to make medicine available for everyone everywhere, because as you know, good doctors are not easy to find. And when you are living in a rural area, it's even harder. In Germany, we have the problem that less and less doctors want to work in the middle of nowhere. And so when you just grow up there or you have your company there, you have no access to specialized care. And so with telemedicine, you can have that kind of care anywhere you want. And I think this is a pivotal part because it levels out a lot of insecurities that people may have. So for example, when you're a full-time single mom, how to fit in your appointment in the next city, which is 80 kilometers away, into your busy schedule. It will be much easier if you can do that just like on the phone during, let's say, shopping. You can integrate it into your everyday life much easier. Or in the evening when the kids are in bed. And also for doctors, it makes it a lot easier. So currently, a lot of the young doctors I know, they are not really hot to work 80 hours a week in shifts of 36 hours each. And they are looking forward to being able to work in a more relaxed atmosphere, to have a better work-life balance. And I love that people are now thinking about work and life in different sectors and not like one big mingle up. And so especially people who just had a child, they can easily work from home for a limited amount of hours as a doctor in telemedicine. So this is the very basic things. But when we go a step further, and as the title of this talk is also including AI, there are so many really important things going on with AI. So just speaking about Heidelberg, there are two projects that I'm specifically fond of. One is carried out in the German Cancer Research Center by my colleague Titus Brinker. Maybe he's watching too. I know that two of his students are watching. And what they did, they developed an AI-driven examination tool to determine if a little mole on your skin might be skin cancer, yes or no, and what kind of skin cancer. And they did not only develop an algorithm for AI, no, they also made the hardware. So it's a little, it's like a magnifying glass in a more sophisticated way, and you can put it on your skin, or your doctor can do that, and then there will be a beep, beep, beep. So this is skin cancer, most likely. And I love the fact that it's, first of all, it's a hardware asset that you can easily have in your doctor's office, but it's combined with cutting edge technology in the AI sector. So this is one example. And the other example is much more basic. You know, Germany, again, world champion of bureaucracy. And like the average doctor in a hospital spends 3 to 4 hours each day writing doctor's letters, which is damn boring and consumes a lot of time. Another friend of mine, Ira Stoll, she designed MyScribe. MyScribe is an AI-driven platform to write doctor's letters just from the data you collect. So you collect, let's say, the blood values, some samples, whatever. You put it together in a file, and then by some kind of magic, MyScribe will make a doctor's letter out of that. Still, a doctor has to read through it and says, yes, this is okay, this is fine, but it saves a lot of time and it makes doctors happier. And that's another point where AI comes in very handy. It's a powerful tool which makes doctors happy because they have more time to spend with patients, which makes the patients more happy. So I think that's a huge leap that we're taking right now to integrate telemedicine and AI into everyday medical work.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is different facets to AI, machine learning, large language models, depending ultimately upon what the model is trained upon. You mentioned with the hardware there that it is trained on developing and detecting skin lesions or something that might be precancerous, or with the MyScribe that it is based out of health information that is based on other letters, and it's not pulling from all of the internet, because I can imagine the kind of results you'd get if you try to do the same thing out of ChatGPT.
Oh, please don't.
So how can that maybe confidence in that the tools are bespoke and specific and correct be fostered amongst the professionals who be using them, and then the patients on the receiving end? Because if I got a letter saying part of this medical letter has been automatically generated, I would have my concerns.
I think the most important point is the data lake that you're working with. You know the term shit in, shit out. So you cannot have a good and stable and reliable model if the data is biased. So maybe everybody tried on ChatGPT or some like common LLM to have a picture of a typical German or a typical whatever. So if you haven't done that yet, please do so, and then compare it to the people around you, and it will not match. So you see the data that was fostered for generating such images is not stable and unbiased. So first part, we need data which is reliable and which is unbiased. And I think this is the biggest problem at the moment, because a lot of research in this part in this field is carried out in the, let's say, white Western world. And so a lot of this data is biased when it comes, for example, to race, ethnicity, and gender. And with the current situation in the US, where the words woman and female are just erased from all proposals for science, it will not get better. So here in Europe, I think we need to have a stance on AI models that are fed with unbiased data, which comes from the best sources. So that's the first point. Second point is we need reliable experts. So I'm currently hunting for an AI expert for my company, and it's really complicated because there are not too many out there. And so I think it would be really, really important to have more study places for people who want to go into the direction of medical AI, specifically medical AI and not like general AI. So we need more education in this field. And when it comes to the doctors, you have to feed them like tiny pieces of technology bit by bit. So they see, okay, I can try this and find out how to do it myself. This is very important. If you just show them once, it will not work. Same for me. When I was shown certain processes the first time, I just messed up massively. And give the people the chance to learn. Although you're an expert yourself, just put yourself in the other person's shoes and try to be as friendly, flexible, and open as you can. And this is another problem I've seen many times. On the one hand side, you have the medical doctors. On the other hand side, you have the technical experts that there's no language between them. So be friendly with each other. It makes it a lot easier. And for patients, I'm not so sure that people will be really scared by a doctor's letter, which will read it was designed by AI, if they know what kind of AI it is. So keeping people informed is extremely important. So with the open source LLMs, where you can have a glimpse how it works, where the data comes from, it's fine to work. So I'm not a huge fan of ChatGPT anymore. I just switched to LeChat from Mistral, which is EU-funded AI Act compliant LLM. It's faster and more reliable, so it's not hallucinating that much. And myself, I would never ever use a Chinese-made AI which is based on Chinese data. So I think we have to educate people, we have to educate children, even in school, about the chances that AI has, but also about the risks. And this was not a precise answer to your question. But it's not as easy, because we have to look a little bit further. It's not only the medical doctor and the patient, it's society that has to be taken into account and also be taken on the way to a more digital healthcare system.
Well, to wrap up everything that you've mentioned so far about the advantages for telemedicine in geography, in timing, in reaching disadvantaged sectors, I mean, the catch-all word for this is accessibility, that it is making the access for patients to their healthcare providers, to their health information, less stress, less time consuming, less effort than it would be. In terms of improving that accessibility to healthcare and delivery of care without necessarily improving or opening access to health information to improperly trained models or to the internet at large. How can a proper telemedicine project weave that gap between better care without jeopardizing or unsecure proposals?
So I think the most important point is to stick to the facts, not to promise some kind of unicorn, rainbow, one-fits-all solution, but to be very specific. Mm-hmm. And I've seen some telemedicine project that tried to offer these unicorns. I love unicorns, that's not the point. But sometimes you just have to start with a shabby little pony. And don't be afraid to start with the pony, because the pony will also do the work which is necessary. And I think here in Germany we are very, very lucky with the data protection, because we do not have to care about that. Nobody is allowed to sell our medical data to anyone. And also with the electronic patient record, elektronische Patientenakte, which is currently introduced in Germany, a lot of people are really terrified, because nobody took the time to explain to them what it is, how it works, and what kind of benefit they will have from it.
Yes, the GDPR implementation and data security made a lot of legwork for a couple of jobs that I was working through at the time, but it is all serving a purpose of keeping information safe, keeping people safe. Is there anything that maybe the implementation, as you say, starting from that shabby pony, from safety forwards, starting at safety, can practitioners, healthcare providers today go, okay, we've got safe information, we've got pretty safe models. What is a first step, my first foray into AI going to look like?
It should always match the user. So when we are talking about the younger doctors, the ones below 50, so that's the magic cutoff. I do not want to offend anyone. This is just like what I've learned in 4 years in the healthcare sector. So 50 is like the magic border. I'm 47, so I'm close to that border, very close to that border. And most of the people younger than 50, they kind of grew up with digitalization, not during their teens or kid years, but during their studies. So they are well aware how to deal with computers, how to deal with smartphones, and everybody has a favorite device. That's another thing I found out. So some people prefer to work on a smartphone, others on a tablet, and the third ones are just very fond of their desktop computers. So when you design something for medical doctors, you always have to ask yourself, what will they be willing and able to work with? And willing and able is not always the same thing. So you can design an app, but people will not like it. So I strongly recommend, and that will be 3 ponies, that you always have the 3 different setups for all different kinds of offers that you want to make for the medical world. I know this costs a lot, but in the end, it pays off. Because if it's only designed for smartphone users, you lose a lot of market and a lot of the traction that can follow a market intro. And another thing is that I found out that most patients are very well informed when it comes to digitalization, if they are informed. And I think that, to come from a different side, a lot of people are Googling their symptoms. And they still do, or they're using ChatGPT, and they still do, because they just do not know that there are specific apps available for early diagnosis, for everyday treatment. And this is not brought to the people directly. Who knows about it? And that's another thing that I'm currently working on. It's like a check system to check different apps, health apps, if they are working, yes or no. Because usually, so when I think about, okay, I want to have something which is AI driven and can help me in my everyday life with my health. Maybe I will look on the App Store and there might be something, but I have no idea if it's good or not. So there are certain criteria which marks a health app or AI driven app as like a good one or a bad one, data security, evidence-based, and so further and so on. There's even research on that. And I'm currently dreaming to build a platform where all of these apps are analyzed by AI. So AI apps analyzed by AI, no pun intended, to find out which of these fit best to the person who wants to use such apps. Because it cannot be just by chance, or maybe you heard something on the radio or read it in the Daily Mail, which is not the best source maybe for health app recommendations. And yeah, just keep the people informed and make it very transparent what benefit they will have from using any kind of AI.
Mm-hmm. Now we have a question in the comments here from an Aditya, who I think is echoing some of the problems hopefully solved by that Scribe program you mentioned to speed up letter writing, asking that administrative costs have increased at an alarming rate over the past 50 years. How can AI be a solution to lift this burden? So I guess that's a matter of not just work saved and time saved, but then also time that you could be spending on other projects and just working faster and smarter. Is there anything that you can name as an example of this working well?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for the question and taking active part in this session. And you're completely right, the administrative costs, they have skyrocketed. And I think that the MyScribe is a really good example, because the time that doctors are not working overtime, they do not have to be paid for these hours they are working overtime, and they can devote the whole time to patients, which also will make them happier and maybe make them even recover faster, which will also save a lot of money in the healthcare industry. And just to point out one example, what we are currently working on with Telemed, which sets a focus on teleconsultations in general practitioners' offices, right when the patient is still sitting there, and a second doctor specialist will be available online, just supervising this on-the-spot examination. We calculated that alone in Germany, there are 95 billion euros spent each year for costs in the direct healthcare sector, meaning hospital stays. And if we can only reduce this number by 2%, which is tiny, if the usage of Telemed will just cut down the expenditures for hospital beds by 2%, we can save 25 euros per person per year. And this is like only by a small amount. And also for the administration. So I'm not quite sure, Aditya, if you're referring to the healthcare administrative costs of a state, of a hospital, or of the whole system. So I assume if it's the state, maybe my answer I just gave with the example of the 2% shortening the spendings on hospitals bed might be a good one. If it's more about a hospital, there are also a lot of other things that can be sped up by AI. Recently, I visited a hospital in a smaller place here around in the region, and their whole hospital is 100% digitized. Meaning the patients who get there to get a surgery, they can download a free app on their phone whenever they want. They can check in the day before they enter the hospital, just like you do for your hotel. They can upload all the data and everything will be automized. And in the end, you have a QR code on your phone. If you go to the hospital physically, you just scan the QR code. All the information is already included, is transferred to your data sheet in the hospital, and you just have to pick it up from a lady or a gentleman sitting next to a printer giving you this, and then you can immediately proceed to the room that you need to be at a certain time, or to a doctor's office. So this saves a lot of time in the administrative complex of taking in patients. So for example, here in Heidelberg Hospital, in a really busy day, it's 1,500 patients being admitted to only a small part of the hospital each day. And if this can be automized, it's also saving a lot of costs. It might be an initial cost which is higher than, let's say, 10 people filling out forms by hand, but it pays off in the long run.
Well, it wouldn't be out of character for me to be English and therefore be a bit of a downer and say that you've given me an extra concern there, that you have all of this information on an app. A phone can run out of battery. An app can be down for service. Is there a risk of over-digitization, over-automation that then creates more gaps for patients receiving that care? I've heard from other telemedicine projects that they want to use old phone masts to send text signals to remind people to come to their appointment, but the phone masts are being taken down to make room for 5G towers, and they can't send a 2G message anymore. Are there possibly making more problems for those disadvantaged communities by chasing a unattainable high for everybody?
I think the most important part is to keep your systems up to date. If anybody is designing anything for 2G today, maybe you're a little late to the party. And you have to keep and focus that your system has to match the bigger system. So again, me being in Germany, I know that Wi-Fi is a problem here. So I'm trying to partner up with someone who's also providing internet anywhere, anytime, and it's not Starlink and not Elon Musk, but somebody else. So I'm trying to solve this problem this way. And we've seen it with a couple of hospitals being hacked. So all the data was not available for anyone because it was an automated closure of all of the systems. So no data was transferred anywhere, but also the doctors couldn't work with it. And guess what? People came back to pen and paper, and it worked. So I think you all know the term German Angst. So Germans are afraid of everything, especially digitalization. And even here, people are rather positive that the digitalization in the healthcare system will make things better, not worse. But you always have to have a backup plan and a plan B.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is not really the most direct comparison, but if I think of all of the automatic checkouts in my local supermarket, they still need people working those checkouts to fix the problems that come up. Hopefully there is still a place for human staff within a hospital, and you don't just get whisked away by robots to a robo-surgery and a QR code on your way out. See you again soon.
I don't think this will happen soon. So this is already a little bit of reality in Korea. Recently, I saw a video about a large hub hospital in the rural areas, rural areas of Seoul, which caters to 1.2 million patients, and everything is automated. So the first time you see as a patient like a real human being is when you're lying in bed and somebody will come to you to talk with you about your surgery, where you watched a video about beforehand and did a little test if you understood everything right. So this is an extreme. First, I thought it was an AI-generated video, but it wasn't. It was reality, and that's not the way I think is the right way to go.
Yes, a human touch when it comes to health care, emphasis on care, I think is going to do a lot to keep people happy and healthy. And hopefully, with a hint of optimism now, to break with my English tradition, is there anything that you think over the next 5 years is going to be a particular excitement for you? And it could be something as simple as the internet stability. It could be the next generation of Wi-Fi. It could be something like, oh, we're going to have half the size of a device so we can put twice as much processing power in. What do you look forward to for 2030?
So I'm a number person. I love numbers. And the one thing I'm really looking forward to is that we take the full advantage of all the data we gathered throughout the last 10, 20, 30 years and put it into larger context to have better preventive care. So this is, I think, the main point about collecting data and also analyzing data. And now it's so much easier and so much faster with AI that we really can take a much bigger leap when it comes to finding out about diseases much, much earlier, especially when it comes to cancer. So other friends of mine here in Heidelberg, they founded a company, it's called PyCon, and they excel in early diagnosis of cancer based on genetic data. And this really makes a difference, because if you know that you're a carrier of a high-risk gene, let's say for breast cancer, you can get better early care and closer examination circles. And this will save you from, well, dying too early. And this is not glamorous at all. It's data, but data being used to make it possible not to fall ill too early, that's, for me, that's the biggest point. And this is only possible by using AI, because otherwise it will just take forever to analyze that data.
Yes, we've had another question come in from Aditya. I think we covered some of that in previous conversation about having the human element on the other side. Are there any touch points that can be enhanced or that might be completely absent from the modern healthcare system as it is that could have AI improvements or complete supplementation?
So I'm sorry, I'm always coming up with examples from Heidelberg, but I have been living here for 25 years, and now I know everyone and their cats and there are a lot of clever people here and clever cats. So another friend of mine, they designed AI-made videos for people who will undergo brain surgery. I think brain surgery is the single most scary thing in the world. And now they are using the data, which is taken from MRT or CT, so whatever data you can get from your brain tumor. And this is put into like a 3D context. So people are able to watch a video what their specific brain tumor looks like, where it is, and how the surgeon will tackle this tumor. So it sounds super scary in the first moment, because I think, wow, do I really want to know what they will be doing with my brain? But they found out that this makes people a lot more confident. And this is one point which, at least as far as I know, is not taken serious enough in German hospitals. So I have been to hospital a couple of times, many times. And most of the times I was not fully aware what will happen to me once I'm put to sleep. And so this part with, for example, the project of my friends is getting much better, especially when it comes to children, so they can understand what will happen to them. So the informed consent of patients, and also making decisions together, decision-based, consent-based medication plans and also surgery plans, this is also a huge issue. And I also have another friend, Cindy Kerner, who might be watching as well, and she's doing research on that. So once this is online, I will link all of my friends and colleagues who might be of interest for the people who have further questions regarding this topic.
Yes, and we've got a final comment here saying that emotions and reactions heal patients in diagnosis. AI can help, but management by human intelligence. And I think, yes, for anyone out there who's worried about job security, human intelligence, human connection, like you say, if it takes until you are in the hospital bed to even meet somebody, then I think that just sounds like quite a lonely experience, and that can matter too.
Absolutely. So AI is only a tool for automation and for support, and will definitely not replace medical personnel, no matter if it's like a surgeon or a nurse or just a nice person getting you the last tea before you go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night. So because everybody is so vulnerable when you're in a hospital, that any human contact is so important. And if there are tools that make it easier for the people working in that system to do their job and to like doing their job, then it should be used, no questions. And also, as you said, the human intellect, like complex decision making, so far, none of the LLMs has mastered that well enough. I'm not sure if this will stay that way. But creativity is something at this point which is more or less impossible to implement into an AI. And the creative mind of the human being, and now it's getting a little bit philosophical, I think this cannot be replaced by any kind of technology today.
Well, we're coming up on the end of our time here, and you spent a lot of this session giving good examples of all the friends that you have across Heidelberg and all the good work you're doing. But for anyone watching this who wants to know more about you and your work, where can they find you and your work as a founder and what it is you're up to now?
So you can find me obviously on LinkedIn. So I try to keep my LinkedIn crowd updated as good as I can. And currently, we are getting like Telemed fixed as a MVP, minimal viable product, and we are super excited because all of that stuff has been sitting in my brain for 1.5 years, and now it's finally put into reality, which is super exciting. And if you want to just follow me, if you have questions, I'm always super happy to chat and maybe explain and help. So if you're a student, a medical student, and you want to know something, please feel free to write to me. But also if you're like a more senior doctor and want to take your first baby steps into the digital world, please get in contact. And I'm very happy to help because I'm still a teacher and I will always be a teacher. And yeah, I think that's the best way to keep in contact. Our website is not up and running yet. It's a hot smoking mess at the moment, but it will be out there soon. I will let you know on LinkedIn. And if you're interested in like the stuff I do in politics, so my political self lives on Instagram, same name. So I have the two selves separated from each other.
Well, for now, I'll say thank you so much for your time, Dr. Kaufmann, and to everyone watching at home. Then do make sure to stay tuned for our next LinkedIn Live session on March the 27th on the science of aging. We look forward to seeing you there. But for today, that's all from me. I've been Will Mountford. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.